the White Maiden of the Sky and the Black Prince of Darkness. Together, they seek to end the conflict between demons and guardians, bringing eternal peace. The Queen of Light, fueled by the massive energy source known as the Progenitor Rune, sits in the heavens with her people. In the Kingdom of Black, monsters rampage freely, slaughtering the village of an innocent boy, leaving him the sole survivor. Hopeless and hurt over his loss, the boy grows up to become the Prince of Darkness, the one to replace the king. The Queen of Light and the Prince of Darkness each challenge the impending doom the world faces in their own way to bring the world back to its rightful path. The anime starts off with the Queen of Light, Iris, fighting off the darkness that has slowly started to engulf the skies, disturbing the balance. With the powers of the Progenitor Rune, Iris and her army fight valiantly. In another place, the village of a boy gets annihilated by monsters, leaving him as the sole survivor. He comes across an armored man named Skier, who sees potential in the boy, making him the Prince of Darkness and the next heir to the throne before dying. The west capital of Queen's Kingdom gets attacked by Baal, the incarnation of destruction, who roams freely around the capital, destroying everything he can lay his hands on. Iris's army tries to stop him, but their futile attempts do no damage to the likes of him. Using the powers of the Progenitor Rune, Iris tries her best to give him a hard time, but Baal stands tall and unmoved by the magic. Knowing that Iris won't be using her ultimate power anytime soon, Baal flies away. Valis, who serves the King of Darkness and his successor's teacher, teaches the Prince of Darkness how to use a sword and gives him knowledge on the ways to govern the kingdom. The prince practices in the outskirts of the kingdom, where he saves Lady Groza from a dire situation. She proceeds to ask him to compete for the succession, which if he wins, he will be granted the Great Sword of Black. Seema, one of the supporters and priestess of the Queen, worries that there is too much burden on Her Majesty and she should do something to get stronger to help her out. While pondering over these thoughts, Seema goes to the edge of the kingdom to look over the skies, but all at once gets attacked by the darkness. Seema stands her ground, using the power of the rune to dispel the evil that tries to enter their sacred lands. Surprised at first, but rejoicing later at her courage and ability to solely dispel the darkness, Lady Groza begins the competition for the next heir as the successors fight against different monsters. The Dark Prince reaches the final and battles against Adele. The two go toe-to-toe in an evenly matched battle, but the Dark Prince comes out victorious, gaining the powers of the Great Sword. Valis congratulates his pupil on his victory and asks him to deliver a message to the Kingdom of White. The envoy flies towards the Kingdom of White, the Dark Prince accompanied by Lady Groza and Adele as his protector. Due to the ongoing war between the two kingdoms, the envoy receives a hostile treatment from the Knights of the Kingdom, with Commander Theus showing his clear disapproval of the group. However, Adele uses his smooth-talking skills to win their trust and be shown into the Queen's court. After reading the message from the king which proposes an alliance to fight off the evil that is wreaking havoc on their lands, Iris asks for a day to think and make a decision. The next day, she questions the Prince of Darkness over the feelings of the people of Black, to which the prince opens up of their mutual hatred for Baal and the desire to end his destructive reign. Satisfied with the answer, Iris agrees to form an alliance to stop Baal together. Two kingdoms unite to fight against Baal as they get their best fighters and armies to face him. With his enormous wings and gold-clad armor, Baal arrives happy to finally face a worthy opponent. Bombarding Baal with everything that they have, the army stands weak and useless against his impenetrable armor and ability that shakes the very ground that they walk on. Lady Groza and Valis don't hold back when it comes to showcasing their abilities. Alas, when nothing seems to work, the King of Darkness and Queen of Light arrive on time to chain him down and finally lock him up in the king's prison for all eternity. The weight of using up an enormous amount of her powers weighs her down as she reaches the Light Kingdom, falling unconscious into the arms of the Dark Prince, before being taken away for treatment. With Baal defeated, Valis sends a message through Lady Groza for the Queen. After her recovery, Adele humbly thanks the Queen for her enormous help in defeating Baal and opens up about his inner desire to convince the king to stop plundering the Queen's lands so that everyone lives happily. Lady Groza arrives with the king's message to continue their alliance of peace until the Kingdom of Darkness can repair all the damages done by Baal in the war. The good news pleases Iris, who accepts it without any hesitation, and even proposes to give the envoy a tour of the kingdom. They laugh and enjoy each other's company while having dinner, which pleases Iris, who had always dreamt of having good relations with the people of the Black Kingdom. The queen, along with the envoy, decides to go to the mountains and collect natural ingredients to cook a dish that they have never tried before. On the mountains, everyone helps to collect the ingredients. The men go to the forest to get the wood for the fire, but somehow lose Theo, brother of Pheus. Worried that something bad has happened to him, the Dark Prince, Adele, and Pheus frantically search for him, but to their relief, find him with the ladies. They complete the dish and finish it off together with smiles and laughter in the air. The next day, Adele and the Dark Prince receive their weapons that were confiscated earlier and make their way to the Queen's court for one last goodbye. Receiving the Queen's reply of continuing their alliance, Adele slowly shows his hatred for the perfect Light Kingdom, where everyone lives happily and gets everything on a silver platter. Adele shows his true colors as he jumps to harm the Queen with his sword, but the Dark Prince's fast reflexes act on time to slice Adele in half, killing him on the spot. Furious at breaking their trust, Pheus ties the Dark Prince up and throws him in the dungeon. That night, Iris cries in front of the rune and begs it to make the world a better place for both kingdoms. As a way to answer her wish, a white cat appears in front of the dungeon the Dark Prince was kept in. The doors to the prison open magically, and the prince follows the cat towards freedom and finds his sword next to the Queen's sword. The white cat transforms into the Queen, who falls into his arms. Looking affectionately into each other's eyes, they promise to bring peace together, no matter what it takes to achieve it. Monsters continue their raid over the Queen's kingdom as she dispels them out with all her might, making her get weaker and weaker. Pheus, concerned for the Queen's health, seeks permission to leave and find a way to heal her faster. Getting permission, Pheus takes help from the elf leader Elantia, who tells them about shining droplets being the best cure to heal the Queen. On the other hand, the Dark Prince gets denied access to enter the Kingdom of Darkness after Adele's murder. Not giving up on his resolution to bring about a change, he waits in his mansion. Lady Groza tells the prince that they have been ordered to kill monsters on the frontier. They make their way to the frontier, slaughtering all the monsters that come their way, until they fall into a trench and face the strongest monster that they could imagine. The King of Darkness breaks his promise and sends his armies to invade the Queen's kingdom, who stands ready, waiting to intercept his dark troops. Pheus and Elantia enter a never-ending tunnel which they believe contains the shining droplets. Passing through the confusing maze, they find the shining droplets levitating above a magic lake that would kill anything or anyone that dare cross it. Pheus, unwilling to waste time, jumps into the lake to reach the droplets, which he takes without getting too badly damaged. They reach the Queen on time, who had cast a protective spell to prevent the darkness from entering the kingdom. Weakened by the extensive use of her magic, Iris takes healing from the shining droplets that Pheus had brought, bringing him back to full strength and ready to face the King of Darkness. The Dark Prince and Lady Groza defeat the monster without even breaking a sweat and make their way back home. Lady Groza proposes her love for the prince, who rejects her, having eyes only for Iris. The Queen faces the ruthless army of the King of Darkness, but this time they get overpowered. Pheus faces Valius, but alas stands no chance against the Master Swordsman. With the rune not helping out one bit, Iris gets shot down from the sky by the overpowering ability of the Dark King. With no faith of survival, Iris almost gives up until her mages boost her confidence to seek help from the rune. Otherwise, there would be nothing left of the Kingdom of Light. The Dark Prince makes his way to save Iris, but gets stopped in his tracks by none other than Adele, who is transformed into a monster. Adele and the prince go at each other, this time to kill. But like always, the prince comes out victorious. Knowing that he doesn't have enough time, the prince flies to save the Queen. The rune suddenly emits a bright white light that slowly makes the kingdom break and fall into the darkness kingdom below, along with everyone on it. The prince, unable to save Iris from falling to her death, unleashes his anger and hatred for the self-centered king and finishes him off with one big blow, bringing peace to the years-long war between the two kingdoms. For years, the Kingdom of Black and White have fought each other for power, until the Dark Prince arrives to bring about a change with the Queen of Light and maintain the balance that they once imagined. It takes a lot of fight and even more sacrifices, but the Dark Prince finally restores balance and brings the world to a peaceful era.